Welcome back to Road Race Retro.
Morning. So, I'm going to change things up a bit. As you can see, I'm not Ant, I'm Dave. I'm the better half of Triple R Cars, Ant's business partner. YouTube's not for me, but we're going to give it a go. So today, I've got to the prep centre and we're going to go and have a look inside and see what we can get on with. Obviously Ant's Megane's there that you've seen little bits and bobs of. I'm going to strip that out today and get ready to weld the feet in for the cage. So I just thought, yep, we'll give it a go. As you can tell, I'm usually the silent partner, but things you got to do. So we'll flip round and we'll go and take a look inside. Hopefully Ant's left some keys for his banana and we'll go from there. So yeah, here we are, Mighty Daily. Clio stashed away in the corner there. It's to be taken down to Chris Dark at Rensport this afternoon. A few bits of prep, no wheels or nothing. Let's go have a look inside. So, yep, French cars everywhere, the banana, the Mighty P1, and the keys, not looking hopeful. Oh well, what we'll do is move the P1 out, get this lump of corruption out, start stripping her out.
So I think we're on to part, really I'm lost out now, I don't know if it's part 5 or part 6, it might even be part 6 now. But this is the ugly side of building cars like this, when things don't go right, when you're trying to do something from scratch. And yesterday, to be fair, was a bad day, and there's no point sugarcoating it. It wasn't the greatest. I was on the road collecting cars. Obviously it is worse for Dave when it comes to this point, because obviously Dave's on the tools, he's the lad that builds the car. And we got a cage from SW Motorsport. I'll not dig too deep into it, but the cage itself has been a bit of a nightmare. It was, I mean, I know roll cages are supposed to be tight, but like it was super duper tight. We've had in, out, messed about. Anyway, Dave was on all day yesterday, sick trying to get it right. He just pursued and eventually got it all sorted, but literally we were here till 9:30 last night, and there has been some mishaps along the way. There's been some bloodshed, there's been some swear words, there's been nearly a few tears, but the cage is in now. So a quick rundown of basically how it went. With it being so tight, everything was just an absolute nightmare to get bolted in. Obviously we opted for a custom built cage. I didn't want to go through the dash, so we've got a dash dodger. Now the worst, to be fair, it was all bad, but one of the worst parts of it is we've ended up losing the windscreen. We've basically smashed the windscreen. There's a top bar that goes up to where the sun visors are basically, and it was so tight to push in, we literally had millimeters, and it was practically up against the screen. Now high in sight obviously is a wonderful thing, but when you get invested into something, sometimes you don't think about these little things. We thought we could get the bar in with the screen in. We had a little bit of a fight with it, and turns out we lost, and we cracked the screen at the top. So we had to get our guys to come out late last night, chop the screen out to get the top bar in. So we now have got the cage in and it's fitted, but yeah, it was a complete and utter ball ache again, not for me, for Dave. Dave was past his best in terms of temper yesterday, and there was a few choice words, but we're back at it today. Luckily enough for us, we are waiting for other bits for cars for prep, so we have got a couple hours in between to get cracked on and do a few more bits. So I'll basically show you the cage in the car now, and I'll talk you through the problems that Dave basically encountered yesterday. So as you can see now, I've still got the camera on the stand because obviously the car's up on the ramp. The cage is in there and looking well, but as you can see, I mean, I know a cage is supposed to be close, but this one is like disgustingly close, and it was so hard to work with. Obviously we've got the door bars in and the doors do shut, but again, there was ratchet straps involved, bits of porta power to get the cage to sit nicely. I'll take you around the front and basically show you the problem with the screen. As you can see, I'll try and go at the top of the screen. It is now cracked. And obviously, as you can see, that screen is currently cut out. It's just resting on and in place. Obviously, the door bars are in that side and the feet are ready to bolt in. I'll just flip the camera around. But yeah, a very testing day. We knew obviously it was going to come to this point where things would fight us. It's always the same when you're building cars and you've got a fresh build going on. It is never easy, and when things get ugly and test you, it is hard to keep your patience. So we've obviously down tools 9:30 last night and then came back to it. A little plus point from yesterday, we have got the long awaited nitrons as well. So I'll just show you the nitrons. They're absolutely beautiful. So when I was on the road yesterday, we're getting back and the R1s have landed. Actually ahead of schedule, which we were surprised at. But that is the nitrons. As you can see, obviously if you're into cars the way that we are, these are absolutely impeccable, just a beautiful design. I mean, when they're on the car they'll be phenomenal, they'll perform very well. But even just looking at a nitron coilover like this, it is a beautiful thing. The build quality on these things is phenomenal, and that's why they cost so much money. But we've gone for the R1s. The R1s aren't the most expensive coilovers, but nevertheless, at recommended retail anywhere from, I think it's 2,900 to 3,300 quid. They definitely aren't a cheap set of suspension. But with us going to the lengths that we've gone to with this build, we thought that something like this, to take the car to the next level, was definitely something that we were going to need. So we're looking forward to seeing what the car does on these. I think I've mentioned it in the previous videos, but I think what we're going to do is as well, is probably a lot of you will have heard of it. There's a company called Suspension Sequence that was setting a lot of fancy cars up at the minute, and we're thinking that we might go the full hog and set the car down there. Today's jobs we're on with now, obviously the powder coated rear axle is back. So Dave's just on stripping the back half of the obviously car off the axle. I'm going to put the new axle in there, or at least kind of trial fit it. We've got polybush and everything to go in. But yeah, it is an ugly side of it now, and we are getting through. We're about 15% into the build now. It is going to be long-winded, but we hope obviously the end product will definitely be worth it. So there's the two axles side by side. I know we haven't done any videos on the new axle, but basically sent the stub and the axle itself away to get powder coated. I know some people might not have done that, but I just thought with the condition of the old axle, it was quite rusty and, well, in a state of repair. It wasn't obviously wrecked, but it just needed a tidy up. And as you can see, obviously it's come back, it's been done very, very nicely. We've got the poly bushes, which we're going to press into there shortly. And obviously the old axle. Now, in terms of what we see these axles like, if you roll back to the other video when we actually did a video on the axle itself, the other axle, the one that we've now got powder coated, was in a lot worse condition than what this one is. But obviously, as we know in previous videos, the axle was kinked on this side, and we think it's done it in here, possibly, where I've got my big toe. That's where we think it's gone. But yeah, it should be lovely anyway. You can see obviously the big difference in the two axles. And for me, it was worth doing. The local powder coaters are very, very cheap here, and he is good at his job. And we were only charged £80, and we thought for the price it was worth doing, especially at the lengths we've gone with the rest of the car.